Hello everybody, Jake your resident content cowboy here. Yeehaw, it's Monday. On Mondays we do tier lists, and on Wednesdays we wear pink.
You know what? I'm actually gonna take a walk, and I know what you're thinking. To the stairs? Oh no, I've got something to show you right over here. We have a telestrator here, which means I can draw on this screen and show you something that I want to show you in this match. I'll just demonstrate it right now. You can draw, you can do this. Yeehaw, you get it. I can draw on this screen. You know, they said I wouldn't be able to find a way to use this. Everyone here doubts me, but as you can see, I did it really well.
For today's tier list, we're going to talk about every Unite move inside Pokemon Unite. And I thought a fun way to do this would be to not only have our tier list up, but also Unite DB, so I could read to you what the Unite moves do. Sometimes it's a good idea because I think you'll kind of forget some of the added effects with something like this. And then we're going to rank every Unite move for every Pokemon inside the game. I hope you enjoy this. Let's take a look at our tiers for this week. We have our God tier. We're only going to have one Unite move in our God tier. We're not friggin' Norse around here. We have our S tier. These are the best Unite moves in the game. Our A tier, really, really good Unite moves. Our B tier, still got the B tier. These Unite moves are fine. The tier is horrible, obviously, but the Unite moves are fine. We have our C tier. These are pretty underwhelming Unite moves. And then we have our Decidueye Memorial tier. These Unite moves are just not very good overall. The way I'm going to be kind of thinking about all of these is in a few ways. First off, how easy is it to use? How impactful is it? Of course, those are huge things. How much does it feel like it fits with the Pokemon? That might be a little bit, but that's only going to be a little of kind of how I judge all of these Unite moves against each other. And then, of course, like how good it is in the meta. So some of these sound better kind of in a vacuum than they do against what is often picked inside the game, right? Let's start here with Cinderace, Blazing Bicycle Kick. You get it at level 9. You become unstoppable. This was added recently. It's actually really great. You create a giant ball of flame and kick it toward the designated location. The ball releases a fierce shockwave that deals damage to Pokemon in an area and additional damage to lower HP Pokemon. So this is an execute move, so it's better against low HP targets, right? It increases movement speed by 10%, stacks with the Unite buff for 5 seconds when it hit. I didn't know that there was an additional attack move speed increase. I knew you were moving pretty fast after you used it, but I'm actually glad I'm reading this because I didn't know about that. So here we go. Blazing Bicycle Kick. Used to be kind of okay. It's used too often to try to secure objectives, but now that you're unstoppable with it, it's actually a little better. The targeting with it can be a little up and down. Not great, not terrible either. Pretty good, I would say. I feel like this is a solid B tier Unite move right now. Maybe in solo queue it could be a little higher. Sometimes it feels like this thing is just not doing any damage, and then other times it's a really great secure tool. So there you go, Cinderace. Let's take a look at our next Pokemon on this list, which is Garchomp. Garchomp's Unite move is pretty good. Live It Outrage. You go Berserk, you take 30% less damage for 5 seconds. I bet you didn't know that unless you played Garchomp. And unleash a powerful chain attack. You dash and deal damage 5 times, taking a brief moment to aim before every attack. Every attack has a different designated area and does more damage than the last. The 5th and final attack stuns Garchomp for 0.5 seconds. I was about to say it doesn't stun enemies, it knocks them up. And throws all enemies hit into the air. Enemies hit are slowed by 30% for 1 second. See, I didn't know that either. Garchomp is unstoppable during this move. Garchomp's Unite move is extremely good. It used to be kind of mid, and they actually changed the way you target it. I thought the targeting at first was worse, but it's better, I think. And Garchomp combos so well with this, and its kit, like, it works really well for Garchomp. I feel like it sets up, I feel like it works well for Garchomp's kit, like the setups and the punch of this is really good. And I also think it feels like a cool Unite for Garchomp. I think this is an A tier for sure. I like this Unite move. I think it's very solid. And Garchomp's really good with it. Like the Dragon combo into that is super solid. Gengar is next. Gengar is next. Phantom Ambush. Briefly become unstoppable and jump to the designated areas. This is when you like jump and go under the ground, right? Begin sneaking for 7 seconds, at least that's what it looks like. You know, you're swimming in the map. Gain 30% increased move speed, become invisible, and the next auto attack is boosted. Moves and autos can be used while invisible, but they bring you above ground. While above ground, you become visible to enemies. If this, while above the ground, become visible. Oh, okay, yeah, but you still have your Unite on, right? If this move is used again, briefly become invincible, deal damage to enemies in the area of effect, and decrease their move speed. I feel like thematically this works, and for a speedster this is honestly a pretty reasonable Unite. I do think it's kind of weak game-wise. Like, it just doesn't feel that impactful, I have to be honest. It's a nice setup for a speedster. I don't think it's bad. It feels a little underwhelming to me. I think this is C for me. It's not terrible, and I do think it fits with what Gengar does really well. It just isn't amazing. Although I've gotten some crazy cool steals with it. I think we've all had those moments where we're like getting really nice like last hits and objective steals. So that is pretty decent. Let's see. Who is next on our list? Who's next on the tier list? It's Cramorant, baby. Gatling Gulp Missile, is that what it is? Gatling Gulp Missile. Cramorant becomes unstoppable, fires a series of prey at the nearest enemy up to 10 times, become immobile and is unstoppable. I almost said unstoppable for up to 6.5 seconds. The prey that is fired will be Arrokuda, while above 50%, and Pikachu below 50%. Gatling Gulp Missile can be canceled early. If a boosted attack is ready when starting this move, it will shoot out first as a regular boosted, followed by 10 Gatling Gulp Missiles. You get a 30% max HP shield, 30% move speed at the end of the turret. Actually does really solid damage, and like it said, it can either fire the Arrokudas or the Pikachus, and what that is your boosted attack. Where does it say here exactly the difference? The prey is Arrokuda. It deals damage and reduces enemies' defenses and special defense. When below 50% HP, it's Pikachu. It slows them by 50% and slows their attack speed. So it's just a different option for you. I think a lot of people like the Pikachu a little bit better, but the Arrokuda is going to lower defenses for your team, so that's pretty cool. Gatling Gulp Missile is great. Cramorant's Unite move's excellent. It's really solid. There was a point where it was a little too weak. They buffed it. This was a while back at this point. There was, like, game release, it was nuts. Then they nerfed it and it was kind of fine. Now I think it's back to being extremely good. This is either S or A. It's one of the better Unite moves in the game. It's extremely telegraphed and it puts yourself in a bad position, right? But with an intelligent player using this Unite move, it's actually extremely devastating. It may tip down into the A category. I'm gonna have to see what else is in S, but I do think Cramorant's Unite's really, really good. Alolan Ninetales is next. Let's find Alolan Ninetales. What's your deal, buddy? Snow Globe. Attack with a chilly blast of snow and ice, dealing damage to enemies in the area of effect. Deals increased damage to enemies that are frozen. Ninetales is unstoppable during the cast. So it's a little tough to time this with hitting frozen enemies, but it's gotten a lot easier with Blizzard Avalanche. It's sort of how that's set up. It does really solid damage. Nice burst. I think it's a pretty good Unite move. It's nothing crazy, but it's really solid. And I don't really have much else to say about it. Solid Unite. I think B is a solid Unite move. And it has a good one. Wiggly. Wiggly's next. This is going to be an interesting one. Wiggly Tough Starlight Recital. Begin performing a recital, becoming unstoppable for 3 seconds, granting Wiggly Tough and nearby allies a shield for 2.5 seconds, as well as removing all status conditions from Wiggly and the allies and granting them immunity to hindrances for as long as the shield is active. So you can't be stunned, knocked up, or anything like that as long as the shield is there. It's a decently bulky shield. When the shield expires, all allies are healed for 50% of the remaining value. So that's something cool to notice about the move, and I think that's easy to forget, right? The shield could be bigger. It just doesn't feel like it's that huge. I have to say, this at one point was one of the best Unite moves in the game. With Umbreon in the game, it loses value. Let's even say it was S now. I have to put it A just because of Umbreon. Umbreon can take the entire shield from you and all of your allies. The best I could say, this is A. I honestly think it's probably closer to B. I feel like the shield could be bigger. It's a little... Yeah, the shield could be bigger. It's a little tough. It's hard to coordinate with teammates that aren't actually coordinated. And just with a Pokemon in the game that steals shields, it's kind of tragic at times. I think B is fair. I could see someone arguing for A. I could also see people arguing for C on this move, which, by the way, I would love to hear from you in the comments what you agree with, what you disagree with. I think it's good, not great, especially with Umbreon in the game, and Umbreon's in the game a lot. All right, let's see who's next. Machamp! Oh, interesting. After the Machizzle this weekend, we have Machamp's Barrage Blow. Briefly become unstoppable. Increase your move speed by 5%, attack by 30, defense by 200, special defense by 200 for 10 seconds. So you get all powered up. This is part of it, and then the next part is kind of that huge Barrage Blow. If used again, unleash a combo attack, dealing damage to enemies in the area of effect and shoving them. You're unstoppable while using this combo attack. This is a great Unite move. It's easily avoidable, and a lot of Pokemon can just eject button or walk out of it, which I think is a bit of a tragedy. However, if used well, like we saw this weekend from the team that won in North America, Alter Ego, you can do some great stuff with it. I think for that reason, I'm going to put it A. It used to be S, but it's actually it's really telegraphed, and it's kind of easy to avoid. And it's kind of easy to avoid even when you're getting hit by it. And people who play Machamp a decent amount know what I'm talking about. Like, people can walk out of your Unite move, and it's kind of frustrating. That being said, it's really, really strong. I think A is a super fair place for a Unite move like that. Let's talk about Absol. Absol's next. Midnight Slash. Briefly become unstoppable before releasing a flurry of 5 slashes in front of Absol, becoming untargetable and invulnerable for 1.5 seconds. See, it's that moment where you kind of disappear. The move ends by unleashing a powerful, unstoppable slash with 3 blades of energy, shoving enemies and dealing damage up to 4 times at melee range and down to 1 time at max range. Only the first ending hit connecting with an enemy does full damage, the others deal 30%. Solid Unite move. Really powerful, great single target damage, great for, KOing an enemy or even securing wild Pokemon. This is either high B or low A. It's a good Unite. I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's as good as Garchomp or Machamp, who I think both are better. It does feel slightly better than my B tier, though. I like it. I don't know. This might move up. I'm not sure. It could be low A. It's a really good Unite move. Absol's Unite's pretty solid. Ooh, Slowbro's next. Well, I mean, I think you maybe have a good idea where this one's going. Slowbro's Unite move is Slow Beam. Stare at an enemy, attacking continually, dealing damage every half second for 3 seconds, and applying Bound to them. It counters Unstoppable, grants a shield, and makes Slowbro unstoppable while using it. This is one of the best Unite moves in the game. So good. Slowbro Slow Beam is so good. There are, competitive metas formed around using Slow Beam. Slow Beam is awesome. You can literally take an entire target out of the game. You find the most important member of the enemy team, and as long as a couple people on your team are around you, it's just getting rid of the highest value enemy possible. It's a great Unite move. For sure, one of the best in the game. S tier for sure. Slow Beam is awesome. Who's next? Mime? Mime's actually really good. Mime's got a good Unite move. Where are you, Mr. Mime? Showtime, right? Is the name. Showtime. Mr. Mime leaps forward, begins a performance, stunning enemies every half second. This is the best part about it. Dealing damage in a large area and becoming unstoppable for the duration. The final hit deals double damage and stuns enemies for 1 second. It's a ton of stun. It's really good. And as a supporter, it's kind of like, it's a powerful Unite move in team fights. I think this is an A tier Unite move for sure. Really, really good. If Mime was better, it might feel a little more like S, but I think this is a really solid Unite, and it kind of feels like what Mime would be doing. It's a weird one, I have to be honest, but it kind of feels like what Mime would be doing for sure. Venu, where are you, Venusaur? I can't find you. There you are, buddy. Venusaur's verdant anger, becoming unstoppable, hurling a massive seed to a designated location, damaging enemies in the radius, slowing them for 35%. The seed then splits apart into 4 smaller seeds, each dealing damage in the radius. So the thing about this is it deals an insane amount of damage. It's really strong, and then you combo it with your Solar Beam, and it's a delete button. For that reason, I feel like this is an S tier Unite move. It's really powerful, and when a Unite move, kind of, even though it is like I'm talking about it being comboed with your moves, but this is what your Unite is. It's on Venusaur's kit. This Unite move comboed with your Solar Beam truly can wipe entire teams. It's pretty busted. And I think it's one of the reasons it does so well competitively, because if you can set this move up, you can win a fight. And I think that's pretty insane. I think Venusaur's Unite is one of the better ones in the game for sure. Let's talk about Lucario. Lucario's Aura Cannon. You channel Aura. power into a spherical projectile launched in a designated direction. The projectile picks up speed as it travels. Pokemon hit by the projectile are dealt damage, or a cannon does not have a limit to the number of times it can hit one target. That's interesting. At close range, a still enemy can be hit 4 times. Wow. At max speed, a still enemy will only be struck once. Oh, so I guess if you're moving with it, it could get even worse. Damage of the next power-up punch is increased by roughly 20%, and the stun is increased to 1 second. I bet you didn't know that. I did, because I play power-up punch. I didn't know the exact numbers, but I knew power-up punch was increased. Enemies hit by the cannon have their internal cooldown for extreme speed reset. Lucario is unstoppable while casting this move. This used to be a pretty meh Unite move, but I think it actually combos really well with Lucario's kit. And, you know, while Lucario is maybe not the most dynamic Pokemon in the game right now, I do think this Unite move is super solid. It's right there with Absol. I think I have to do this. God, I hate this. I hate it, but I have to. Ugh. Disgusting to even see it, but I'm moving this up. These are B+ Unite moves to me. They're not fully A, but I do think they're better than what I have in the B tier right now. Still got the B tier. And I do think Lucario's Unite move is good. Almost on the verge of great. I think it's pretty dang strong. I think that's a fair place to put Lucario's Unite. Talonflame. Talonflame. Hey, buddy. You unlock Flame Sweep at level 9. You charge forward, damaging and shoving all enemies in its path. Flame Sweep deals damage. All right. Up to 2 times, and Talonflame takes 50% less damage during the sweep. Talon is unstoppable during this move. Cool idea. It's nice buff to give you 80% move speed, right? And you get a shield for your max HP, which keeps you alive in some crazy situations. This Unite is tragic sometimes, dude. I don't know. This Unite's kind of tragic. Here's the thing. On its face, it's not horrible. This is the clunkiest Unite sometimes. Like, how many Talonflame Unite moves go into walls? This is either C or D. Like, when you hit a good Flame Sweep, it's cool. Don't get me wrong. But this feels like, I don't know. Like, they just need to change it. Maybe you can even fly through walls or something with this Unite. It's just such a bummer sometimes. It's either C or D. I mean, even thinking about, I don't know, man. This Unite's kind of tragic at times. And I love Talonflame. I love it. But sometimes you use its Unite move and you're just so disappointed. I don't know. I might move it from C. It's rough. I'm sorry, Talon, but you don't have a good Unite. It's just a bummer. LD has a good one, Cotton Cloud Crash. You float into the air, you become invincible, you increase move speed. If used again, you pound the ground, attacking and shoving enemies for 0.7 seconds while restoring HP to Eldegoss and allies. This hurts enemies and heals allies, and it makes you invulnerable. You can use it to secure objectives. You can use it in big fights. This is a really good Unite move. This is like A or S. It's really good. I don't know if it makes it all the way up into S tier, but it's pretty dang good. You can save allies too. The fact that you heal and hurt at the same time is really strong too in team fights. This one's close. I'll think about it also. This might move up. Talon might move down. Yeah. They might. Greninja's next. Greninja's big old water shuriken. Water burst shuriken. Throw a giant water shuriken toward a designated area, dealing damage to enemies in the area of effect and those in the line shown by the arrow reticule but are outside Greninja's melee attack range. Take it into the practice mode. See what that means. Pokemon damaged by the designated circular area have their move speed decreased by 50% for 2 seconds. The water shuriken immediately explodes, dealing damage to enemies in the area of effect and throwing them in the air. Once the move ends, Greninja may jump in a designated direction, so you can hop off any direction you want. Greninja's unstoppable during this move. A lot of this, like, you get the move speed and attack speed increase. That's kind of one of the biggest parts about it. It's not bad. It's decent damage too. It's a good assassination move, and I think it works well for Greninja. This probably fits into the B+ tier for me. I mean, and especially for Greninja's kit, I think it makes total sense. It's a solid Unite move. Yeah, it's really solid. I don't think it's the best, but it's really, really solid. Crustal. Crustal, Rubble Rouser. Summon a whirlwind of rocks at the beginning. Leave enemies nearby stunned for 1 second. So good. Gaining a huge shield, 40% max HP. Then deal damage to nearby enemies every 1 second for 10 seconds. So it has this damage run. It also has revenge damage. When you receive damage, the move, while this move is in effect, deal additional revenge damage that happens once every 2 seconds. This is one of the best Unite moves in the game. Crustal's Unite's insane. It's so powerful. Yeah, I think people are just realizing how good it is. It's sneaky, OP, powerful Unite move. And it's one of the reasons the Crustal is so good in the game right now. This early stun is a big part of it too. This 1 second stun that you get with it, it's really strong, guys. So yeah, I definitely have to give it up to Crustal. I think this Unite is crazy good. Snorlax. Snorlax is one that kind of feels a little, right? It's not like not the best. It's not the worst either, and I really do feel like it fits with Snorlax. I just feel like other defenders have better Unites. So Power Nap, you go to sleep, slam on the ground, dealing damage to enemies, and then throwing them in the air. That's nice. Snorlax becomes unstoppable and starts snoring. While sleeping enemies cannot pass through your hitbox, so you kind of block people. Enemies hit by the snoring are dealt damage and slowed by 30% for 1 second. Snorlax continuously restores HP, 8.5% of max HP 9 times, so you get a ton of HP back. The move can be recasted to flip over, dealing an extra instance of snore damage and throwing enemies into the air. I think this Unite move is not amazing, but it really does feel like Snorlax's Unite move. So I have to give it some bonus points there. The best I could do is B tier. Coordinated play, this does some really cool stuff. I feel like the best I could say about it is like B tier right now. It's good. The heal is good. Using this with a buddy barrier for an ally too is really nice because you kind of jump into where an ally is fighting. You knock everyone up into the air, so it disrupts the enemies from like getting your ally, and then you buddy barrier them. It's a really good combo. I would say this is B. It feels like B. I could see some people arguing that it's lower, but it's B. Charizard. Let's see. Charizard, you get the Seismic Slam mode. Charizard, briefly become unstoppable, grab an enemy, slam it into the ground, damaging the target and nearby enemies, and deal additional damage based on their max HP. Then, fly up into the air, moving freely over obstacles for 7.5 seconds and gaining hindrance resistance. While this mode is active, auto attacks apply a burn to a target which lasts for 1 second, dealing 2 instances of damage and refreshing by each instance of damage from autos. When dealing damage with autos to an enemy not from burn or additional damage, recover HP equal to 80% of the damage dealt. So this is how Charizard gets a lot of HP back sometimes. Natural Life Steal will apply to the burns applied by auto attacks made during this Unite. Also, when Charizard, like just Charizard's ability, Blaze, critical hit is increased by 20% when at half HP or less. So if you use this like a little under half HP, you're doing insane damage with it. Charizard's Unite's one of the best in the game. Charizard's kind of weird right now, not amazing, and this move is cancelable. If Charizard was better and this move wasn't cancelable, it's probably the best Unite move in the game. Like, there are a few that will give it a run for its money. Because it's cancelable and Char's only okay, it's kind of not the best right now. The best I can do is A. And I know some people are going to say, no, it's an S tier Unite move. I think with how easy it is to not land this Unite move, I don't think you could say it's S tier. Because it's a liability sometimes. And I think it's unfortunate, but I don't know. It's just not as good as it should be. Charizard's just not as good as it should be, and its Unite could probably even use a tweak and it would be fine. Pikachu, Thunderstorm, briefly become unstoppable, jumping into the air and summoning bolts of lightning 4 times over 3 seconds in a radius around Pikachu. The first strike targets all enemy players. That's important to know. When you first cast Pikachu's Unite, everyone gets hit. Now after that, they don't, so it's important to try to hit as many as you can on that first one. The next 3 strikes target a single random enemy player. Targets that are struck by bolts deal damage to their allies in a small area around them. Enemies in the area of multiple bolts during the first strike are only damaged 1 time. All moves can be used during Thunderstorm, so you're using it, you can still throw Electro Balls and Volt Tackles. This sets up really good opportunities to KO like squishy enemy Pokemon like Speedsters and stuff with a Volt Tackle and your Unite move. It can be pretty huge. I think Pikachu's Unite's really good. And it's on a low cooldown. It's honestly B+ or A. It's really, really strong, and you get to use it all the time. What's its cooldown? Yeah, 89 seconds. It's so low. It's actually, I think Pikachu sometimes is sneaky good. And its Unite move is way up there. It's such a great like Pokemon for beginners too. You'll get so much value out of playing Pikachu, I swear. I think I'll leave it B+. I might even move it A. That one's pretty good. Zerra Aura. Zerra's got a decent Unite. Plasma Gale. Become unstoppable for a half second. Launch a bolt of lightning that travels towards the enemy target. This is a sure hit. Dealing damage, knocking enemies up along the path, and then once again in the area when reaching the target. So you can kind of set up some situations where multiple enemies are sort of messed up by this, even if like a target's running away from it. Creates an area of electricity for 5 seconds centered on the target that paralyzes enemies caught within for 3 seconds. That's not a stun, by the way. Paralyze is like slow. It's up here, I think, in his kit. Paralyze is slow for 15% and reducing attack speed by 25%. So it's not like a big stun, but it's useful. The area also increases Zera's auto attack range and auto attack damage by 20%. So basically you use it and you're autoing and you know, KOing these enemies. It's pretty solid. It's good for Zerra, good for its kit. Not bad at all. I think B+ is a fair place to put it. I'm moving Pikachu to A. Just seeing this, like, I think Pikachu's better than the rest of these. I do like Zera's Unite, but I think Pikachu's better than the rest of these, especially because of how often you get it. Really, really good. Zera's good though. It's a good Unite move. I like it. Guardi Gore, where are you, buddy? Hey, Guardi, with your silly fairy singularity, you warp space in a large area, creating a field, damaging all enemies in the radius, pulling them toward the center 4 times. When it expires, the field damages and shoves enemies. This Unite move used to be very similar to Char. In that you only got to cast it a couple times. It felt like a liability. At this point, I honestly think this is an S tier Unite move. It's always been incredibly good, but it was so quite literally hit and miss. And when you missed, you kind of threw away one of the biggest things you have in the game. But now with such a low cooldown on your Unite move, I think it changes Guardi's Unite to be way more spammable and truly one of the top tier Unites in the game. I could see an argument that it's like a little maybe under S tier, maybe, but I think it's one of the best in the game right now. Blissey is next. Blissey, Bliss Assistance. Oh, Bliss Assistance. Dash toward a designated ally to give it an egg, granting the ally a shield and increasing their attack and special attack by 20% for 6 seconds. I think a lot of people don't know that aspect. It also makes your carry stronger. Blissey also intercepts 50% of the damage received by that ally. So this is why it's so hard to KO them. Not only do they get a massive shield, but you're sharing damage with Blissey. While dashing, throw hit enemies into the air for 0.8 seconds. When reaching the target ally, deal additional damage to all enemies, and it hits like a truck. Blissey's unstoppable during this move. Bliss Assistance is broken. It's right up there with Slow Beam. It's one of the best Unite moves in the game. It's dummy good. It's so dumb. Bliss Assistance is so dumb. It's such a good move. It's crazy. Oh man. I mean, all the Unite moves in the game are really useful, right? But Bliss Assistance is just crazy dumb. Blastoise, talking about another really good one, Hydro Typhoon. You grant a shield, which is huge, for 4 seconds, sweeping powerful water jets in a large circle area itself, dealing massive damage, throwing enemies into the air for a long time, 1.5 seconds, and Blastoise is unstoppable. No shocker. Blastoise's Unite move is crazy good. Crazy good. They've even nerfed it a couple times, but it's still really good. All right, Mamoswine. Mamoswine's Unite move, Mammoth Mash. I had no idea what the name was of this. You jump to the designated location and repeatedly stomp the ground 4 times, dealing damage to enemies in the area of effect and decreasing their move speed by a half second with each stomp. The first stomp slows by 30, 2 mini stomps slowed by 20. I had no idea that there were different slows here. And the final stomp slows by 40, throwing them in the air. This one I do know, that's like the best part of it. Mammo is unstoppable for the duration of the move. This used to be not so good. Mammo used to be not so good. I actually think Mammo is decent now, and I think this Unite is a little better than people give it credit for. This feels like a B+ to me, actually. I think this might be one of the most controversial takes on this list, is I actually think that Mammo's Unites, it's better than people think right now. It used to be bad. It did. But I actually think with the way Mammo is in the game, I think this is a lot better. I like it. And the damage is solid. It's like, if you look at it, like, look at a level 9. These stomps You get 845, 563, and 1127. That's probably more than Blastoise's Unite move. Now, it's not all in one big burst, right? And it's not as easy to hit multiple targets with it, but still, it's a pretty solid Unite move. All right, let's take a look at Sylveon. Sylveon used to have a bad Unite. Not bad, but you know what I'm talking about. You jump into the air, remove most statuses, and become invincible. The moment you land, you lose the invincibility and immediately gain Fairy Frolic buff. While dealing damage to enemies, Fairy Frolic buff for 10 seconds, 50% of the damage dealt by Sylveon is converted into HP. No HP is recovered if it's dealt to shields. For whatever reason, shields don't have a lot, like Drain Ground doesn't work on shields, neither does Fairy Frolic. This is way better than it used to be. It used to be kind of, like, I would say it was probably C, but now it's gotten buffed. I think this is B+. Maybe even closer to A. It's really good. The cooldown is lower. It does more damage now. Really nice buff to Sylveon. I like its Unite move. Really solid. Our next Pokemon is Greeden. It's weird because this Unite's actually... It feels like it's so dependent on how good Greeden is. Greeden needs a special berry to recover 15% max HP and then leaps to the designated area. It's a little hard to hit with this because it's pretty telegraphed. You can use an eject button, but I digress. Dealing damage and throwing enemies within the area of effect, Greeden then eats another berry, allowing an unlimited amount of Oran berries to be stored for 8 seconds, resetting the cooldown of all moves. Greeden is unstoppable during this move. It's pretty good, but it feels like Berry Belly Flop is directly tied to how good Greeden is. Like, you being able to reset the cooldowns of all your moves is great if Greeden's moves were a little bit stronger. Greeden's Greeden. I mean, hey, you can't have a more true sentence than that. Greeden's Greeden, baby. But I do think Greeden's a little underwhelming right now. One of my favorites to play. This Unite's fine. It's not bad, and the resetting your moves is good, but it's fine. Like, B is fair. B's fair. Next is Decidueye. Now, this one's going to be interesting. Knock, knock, baby! You fire quills in the designated direction, dealing damage to enemies, but does not pierce them. That's important. The move ends by unleashing a large quill that does pierce enemies. 30% more damage if the target is below 50% HP, by the way. But Knock Knock can be canceled early. While using this move, Decidueye becomes unstoppable, but is unable to move. So, you grant shields at the start of it, move speed at the end. Here's the thing. This comboing with Decidueye's natural ability here, Long Reach, where you deal increased damage to distant enemies, it's pretty good. But people use this Unite move wrong. Like, okay, your solo queue allies, Decidueye Memorial tier. A good ally using this, probably closer to B+, maybe even A. The problem is all of your allies are truly using this Unite move in the tier that it was named for Decidueye back when Decidueye was bad. I don't think it's that bad. I just think it's one of the worst used Unites in the game. I'm going to put it into our B tier right here. The hard thing is, you're going to say, but Jake, when someone not smart using it is not smart using it, it's really this bad. I can't disagree with you. I don't think it's that bad. I just think people use this so wrong. You don't need to use this to rip an objective or something like that. You use this when the enemies are grouped up in a fight, kind of fighting your team, and you just pepper them with arrows and do tons of damage. And then you use your Spirit Shackle for a secure. It's better than people think, but it's used worse than maybe any Unite move in the game. So that's my take on Decidueye. Not as bad as people think, but man, your allies are going to make it seem bad. Zerina, the Queen Ascendant. You leap towards an enemy player, kicking it high into the air before showering it with a series of kicks while airborne, dealing damage to them. The moment Zerina lands on the ground, you recover HP. While airborne, the enemy that is being kicked and Zerina are not affected by other moves. This is a really good Unite. It feels like it's set up well for Zerina's kit. It's a single target Unite move, and you make Zerina untargetable, and for a minute there, and invincible, essentially. You're out of combat, essentially. All the while, so enemies can't hit you with moves. You recover HP when you hit the ground. You delete enemy carries. It's a really solid Unite move, and really perfect for Zerina. I think B+ is super fair. Not always game-changing, but you can pick off a strong enemy. Like, you can just jump into the back line and pick up their enemy Chandelure, and you're good to go. The only problem is this, kind of like Charizard's Unite move, can be canceled, so you have to be able to jump on the right targets with it, for sure. Our next Pokemon, Dragonite. Ooh, Dragonite. With your dumb Unite Draco Impact, you briefly fly into the air, becoming untargetable before crashing down approximately 2 seconds after activating with several comets on a designated area, dealing damage, throwing enemies for a half second. The farther you fly, the more Unite move gauge is consumed. This is a fun concept, right? Dragonite is unstoppable while using this move. This Unite move is bad. It's straight up bad. I think it's one of the worst in the game. It's so hard to hit. And you can move it slightly with an eject button, but it's so telegraphed. If it like flew, even if it was 30% faster, like you don't even have to cut the time in half, like cut it 25% faster, this Unite move would be so good. But it's so hard to find enemies foolish enough to get tons of value out of this Unite. The ability to move around the map is pretty cool, and you'll have some fun moments with it, but truly, Dragonite's Unite is not good. It is not good. Trevenant, alright, Phantom Forest, briefly becomes unstoppable and creates a cursed forest, dealing damage to enemies in the area of effect, marking them, throwing them, that's my favorite part, like that knock up in the air, and decreasing their move speed by 50% for 2 seconds. Trevenant and allies deal increased basic attack and boosted attack damage to enemies that were marked by this move with a half-second cooldown for each. So this actually creates a situation where your allies are dealing more damage to enemies, which is great. Trevenant is also granted a shield for 6 seconds when this move hits an enemy with the shield. When this move hits an enemy with the shield being strengthened for each enemy hit up to 5 times, so hitting the entire enemy team, very, very good. When you are shielded by the shield, HP recovery effects applied to Trevenant are increased by 50%. It's actually a really solid Unite move. It doesn't feel like it. I just feel like from the outside it doesn't seem like it. It does so much more than you expect reading about it. I think it's a really solid Unite. Feels like a B+, maybe even close to A for me. Aegislash. Aegislash's Unite move is weird. It's weird. Coup de grace. Unleash a ground-splitting slash in the designated direction, dealing damage to enemies hit and switching to sword stance. The lower the remaining HP, the more damage. It's an execute move. If this slash knocks out an enemy, boost count is increased by 2. Aegislash is unstoppable during this move. The weird thing is, I don't think this move is that good for fighting. It's not. It's actually good for securing objectives. Like, it's really solid for it because of the execute damage, and it's easy to line up. That being said, in fights, I think this is kind of underwhelming. I would put this as a B tier Unite move. It sounds better than it is. It really does. It's a little wonky to hit inside of a fight, I would say. And using it, you want to use it when the enemy's HP is low, but in that moment, they're often, you know, trying to be evasive, so it's a little harder to hit. It puts you in sword mode, which isn't terrible, but your defenses are all lowered. I don't know. It's okay. It's better at hitting objectives. Hoopa! Hoopa, Hoopa, Hoopa. I made you out of clay with Hoopa, Hoopa, Hoopa. Rings unbound. Hoopa becomes invincible for 0.6 seconds. A lot of people use that invulnerability time very well in competitive play. While transforming into Hoopa Unbound, they become unstoppable for 0.3 seconds while they open a large portal ring at the designated location. Hoopa Unbound lasts for 15 seconds, increasing max HP by 40% and changes Hoopa's regular moves to Hyperspace Fury and Psybeam. Hoopa Unbound cannot score goals or activate the Magician ability. The portal ring created stays open for 10 seconds. Allies can warp in. The portal is indicated on the minimap where all players may see it. Obviously, it goes without saying, Hoopa's Unite move is S tier. One of the best in the game. An absolute contender for our God tier. There are a couple in my head that are already contenders for God tier. Hoopa's Unite is no question one of the best inside of Pokemon Unite. It's a game-changing Unite move. All right. Duraludon. Duraludon's actually pretty good. It's a solid Unite. Revolving Ruin. You fire a beam of light on the ground, sweeping in a circle. If the beam hits an enemy, it deals damage. Duraludon grants a shield and increases attack by 8% for 8 seconds. Both the shield effect and attack increase are strengthened for each enemy that is hit by the beam, stacking up to 5 times. Big thing to notice, you want to hit multiple enemies if you can. Damage is dealt to any enemy in the area of effect after the beam of light is fired. A burning ring is also left where the beam of light touched the ground. Enemies that touch the ring take additional damage every 0.5 seconds and have their movement speed decreased by 50% for 1 second. Subsequent hits after the first hit of the attack stat bonus is applied from this move. Sorry. Let me read that again. Subsequent hits after the first have the attack stat bonus from this move applied to them. This is actually a really solid move. You get a decent shield, the burning damage isn't bad, and you deal decent damage on hit, and it creates this horrible area of effect that enemies don't want to fight in. It's really good on a Pokemon that nobody plays. I think it's better than people think. I think it's probably an A tier Unite move. I'm going to actually move it down 1. I'm going to move it to B+ because it's cancelable. And it's stupid that it is, but it is. And it's actually not that hard to cancel sometimes. If it wasn't for that, this would be an A tier Unite move. But it is kind of cancelable. Dumb, but it's true for Duraludon. Some people run full heal so that they don't get their Unite canceled as easily. Belly Bash by Azumarill. You target a Pokemon, pounding your belly 3 times, losing 5% remaining HP with each pound in exchange for a 5% max HP shield that stacks with each pound. Azumarill gains 60 attack for 5 seconds and can move while pounding their belly. So you kind of move like you're like lining it up a little bit, and then you charge in at the target, dealing damage and throwing all Pokemon hit while charging. So it's like a knock up there. And Pokemon within the area of effect of the target. You're unstoppable during the move. This is not bad. It's not bad. It feels like it should be better. It's not bad though. It's good for like it's like this is one of those Unite moves that feels like when you're winning harder. When you're losing, this does nothing. I feel like. I like it, don't love it. B is fair. I think B is fair for it. It could be better. It could. Espeon's next. Espeon's got a pretty good Unite. Psychic Solari. Solar? Espeon throws enemies in the area of effect into the air and suspends them using psychic power. After a delayed explosion occurs, dealing damage to all enemies and shoving them. You're unstoppable during this move. Really solid. You can catch a ton of enemies. I think it's an A tier Unite move for sure. Really, really good. Very, very solid Unite. Delphox is next. Delphox Unite move is great. Fanciful Fireworks, crazy low cooldown, 84 seconds. Deals damage over time to enemies in the designated area of effect. Enemies that hit have a 50% decreased move speed, 50% reduced HP recovery effects for 1.75 seconds. Recovery effects are weakened within the zone and cannot be cleansed while in the zone. Leaving the zone will have the weakened HP recovery effect linger for 1.75 seconds and may be cleansed once you leave. It has an 8-second duration with ticks at every half second. It's a great Unite move. Delphox Unite is great. One of the better ones in the entire game. So good. It can be a little disappointing because it's kind of easy for enemies to just go, well, don't go in that. But if your team is smart and sets up a good fight, you just can throw it right down there. If they try to engage on you, they're in this horrible area. Otherwise, they kind of like peel back. The only problem is just people run from it. That's the only issue. But otherwise, it's a great Unite move. Glaceon. Glaceon's Unite Glacial Stage. I actually did not know the name. I was just thinking, what is this called? You leap high in the air, creating an ice zone in front of themselves and dealing damage to enemies in the area of effect. While in the ice zone, your movement speed is increased by 50%. You gain 1 icicle crystal every second while in the zone. The move speed of enemies in the zone is decreased by 50%. This is good, not great. Glaceon's pretty busted, but its Unite move isn't the most busted thing about it. I think it's good. I think B is fair. If this thing was any better, I mean, Glaceon's already dummy broken. If this thing was any better, it would be so silly. It's a good Unite, though. It definitely is good. Nothing terrible about it. Buzzwall. Ultra Swole Slam. Buzz flies at high speed, dealing damage to enemies in the area of effect. Afterward, the user targets an enemy with the lowest percentage HP among those hit and charges down from the sky, dealing area damage once again and additional damage to the target based on missing HP. Execute damage. Buzzwole is unstoppable during this move. Against wild Pokemon, missing HP damage is not dealt. The missing HP damage is 50% of missing HP. Buzzwole's stupid. This thing is so dumb. It's so broken, you guys. This is an A tier Unite move. It's not you're not like wiping the whole team, but comboed with the fact that Buzzwole's broken and this thing is a great execute, it's really hard not to say it's one of the better Unites in the game. It's not like so good, but like that. This is what breaks the game for Buzzwole. It's other things about Buzzwole, but this Unite move is pretty dang good. Tyranitar is an interesting one. I might have a controversial take on Tyranitar. Tyrannical Rampage briefly becomes unstoppable, explodes with anger, and goes on a rampage for 10 seconds. While rampaging, Tyranitar gains 50% tenacity, so that's it's the Tenacity is how they measure like how long a status effect, like a slow or a stun, stays on you. So you get slowed for less time, you get knocked up for less time. And your basic attack pattern changes, dealing increased damage. If the HP of an enemy hit by your basics is below 20%, that big stomp, it's immediately knocked out. This is at times crazy good, but also a little buggy. People who play Tyranitar a lot will know this, and I played it a lot when I was making my guide for it a couple seasons ago. At times, it's really buggy, and your auto attacks are just not going off the way they should be. And Tyranitar is like kind of hitchy and moving weird. It's strong, but it's not as game-changing broken as it would seem. I have to be honest. I think Tyranitar's Unite move is not bad. I think it's B+. It's not as simple to just walk over everything and stomp them and KO them, but it is also not a troll bad Unite move. If it got bug fixes, I think it would probably be an A tier Unite for me. And I know what you're thinking, like this Unite move is one of the best in the game. It's weird. The way Tyranitar plays and how easy it is for enemies to get away from it, it's actually, I think this is a fair place to put it. T-Tar's Unite is not as good as you would like it to be. Or that you think it is. When you see it on the outside, it's scarier than it is when you're using it. Trust me. Mystical Mirage from Mew. Mew becomes unstoppable, floating in the air for 1 second, then becoming invincible. And invincible for up to 6 seconds until using an attack or move. A field is created around Mew for 5 seconds. The field travels with Mew. Mew and allies in the area become stealth for 4 seconds, so you couldn't auto the enemies in there. After the field expires, the move deals damage to enemies. It's great Unite. Great Unite. S tier Unite. Used to be even better because it used to deal more damage, and people were using it to deal a lot of damage, and I think that was pretty unfair. But Mew's dumb, and this Unite move is dumb. It's so good. S tier for sure. One of the best in the game. Dodrio has a good Unite too. Triple Trample. You run to a designated location. If you make contact with an enemy, they are dealt damage and thrown into the air for 1 second. That's probably the best part about it, really. It does a few other things that are good. When you arrive at the designated location, you get increased attack, like your attack stat. You lose 5% special attack. No idea what that has to do with anything. And you're granted a 10% max HP shield. The sprint gauge charges faster. Huge for Dodrio. Damage dealt at the designated location is affected by the attack bonus. So like right at the end there, you deal pop of damage. You're unstoppable during the move. Really good Unite move. It's not S tier broken, but it's really, really good. And if you're a good Dodrio player, you know how to take great advantage of it. It feels like the opposite of a Talonflame Unite. Like kind of always useful, even if you miss, kind of always useful, as opposed to Talon Unite move. Scizor, where you at, buddy? Scizor, Scyther, Unite move time. Red Illusion Dive. Target an enemy and punch them. Dealing an initial hit of damage, decreasing their move speed by 40%. Then you create 5 copies that dash away from Scizor. This move is just cool. If a copy hits an enemy while dashing out, it deals damage, decreases their move speed for 40%, and then disappears. For 8 seconds after activation, this move may be used again, dashing in a designated location, dealing damage to enemies hit. The enemies hit are also grabbed and carried while Scizor continues dashing. At the end of the dash, you punch the ground, dealing damage in an area of effect. If a grabbed enemy makes contact with an illusory copy, so if you can push them into it, the damage dealt will be left they will be dealt damage and left incapacitated. It's actually a really good Unite move. I would say it's probably B+. It's really solid. It's good for like isolating enemy carry Pokemon and taking them out. I think it's really, really solid. Scizor is definitely a B+ there for me on its Unite. I'm gonna just do Scyther right now. It's Scizor Scyther, why not? And it's pretty similar. Green Illusion Dive. Target an enemy, slashing them, dealing an initial hit of damage and creating 5 copies. Copies deal damage to enemies when they make contact and apply a mark to them for 5 seconds. After 5 seconds, the copies return to Scyther, dealing damage to enemies they make contact with and healing Scyther for each hit. This move may be used again within 5 seconds of activating as a dash in a designated direction, dealing damage to enemies hit. The copies then dash to the end of the location. If a copy makes contact with an enemy while returning to Scyther, the copy deals damage to that enemy and disappears. If a marked enemy is knocked out, all of Scyther's move cooldowns are reset. Subsequent copies hitting the same target deal 70% reduced damage. It's just a really, I mean, Scyther is a speedster, and this is a targeted speedster Unite move. I think it's pretty solid. I would also put it into our B+ tier. Both Scizor and Scyther have pretty good Unite moves. They're really good. Clefable, Clefable. Here we go, buddy. Wonder Wish. Didn't know the name of it. You waggle your finger, restoring HP to allies in the area of effect. I think some people don't know this, right? The lower an ally's HP is, the more HP the move restores to an ally. Huge. Afterward, you get a random move that can be performed by using the Unite move again within 10 seconds. Some random moves activate automatically, like Splash and Explosion. It's weird. In some ways, this is a top tier Unite, but it's also inconsistent. I think the best I can give it is B+, even though at times it's definitely an A tier Unite move. It's really good, feels very supporty, and it kind of makes you turn into a weird, like, I don't know, special attack, like burst mage for a second, which is pretty cool. But even still, I wouldn't say I can say more than B+ because it's really inconsistent. However, the heal is really good, and I think not enough people use it for the heal. Okay, Nightfall Days. Also had no idea that was what that was called. Releases dark shockwaves, dealing damage to enemies hit. 3 shockwaves are released, and each one has an increasingly large area of effect. Zoroark is unstoppable during this move. Really solid, not broken, great, but really, really solid. Works well for Zoroark's kit, and you can get some big deletes and secures with it. I like it. I like it a lot. Sableye. I don't even know where to put this, because at times it's good, and at times it's completely useless. Chaos Glower, also no idea that was called that. Sableye becomes unstoppable for 1.2 seconds and shoots light from both eyes, dealing damage to enemies in a cone in front of itself. Enemy players hit by this move when facing Sableye are left unable to act for 3 seconds and start preparing to return to base. If anyone hits them, though, they stop. If they take damage before returning to base, even wild Pokemon, by the way, the return effect is canceled and they're left unable to act for 1.5 seconds. Still a huge stun. Enemies hit by this move who are not facing Sableye have their move speed decreased by 50% for 2 seconds. It's so good at times and so bad. I feel like B is the best I can do. I'm on Pawn Stars, and they're like, I'm looking for an A, maybe even a B+. I'm like, B is the best I can do is B. It's so inconsistent. At times it's crazy good. At other times it feels like, honestly, you're just like, oh, did I cough on you? Are you okay? Yeah, I'm sorry, Sableye. It's at times your Unite move is useless. Urshifu, we're starting with Eban Fist. This is the Wicked Blow setup here. You dash to a designated enemy in designated direction or not. Designated direction, you kind of like push them, but you don't want to do that. You want to knock them up into the air, throwing them really, really high in the air. If the direction is designated, the move deals more power to the target and shoves them. Useless. The shoved enemy then also deals damage to and throws other enemies hit. Like, it's kind of cool, but no. Using this move will reset Wicked Blow's cooldown. Basically, this is a insane delete button. It's been more broken, but it's hard to say this is not an S tier Unite move. I could hear some arguments that it's maybe closer to A. Maybe. But Eban Fist is great. It's so good. Yeah, it's so good. Let's talk about Flowing Fists. You briefly become unstoppable. This is the Rapid Strike build. Deal damage to enemies in an area of effect and shove them. If the move is used again, you unleash the big combo. In the time between activating Flowing Fists and the follow-up, every 2 times you deal damage, the number of consecutive blows for the follow-up attack is increased. That's that cool, like, punch, 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 punch. When dealing damage to the consecutive blows, Urshifu receives 30% reduced damage and becomes unstoppable. After the consecutive blows have finished, Urshifu deals damage and shoves enemies in the area of effect. Maybe this is a hot take. This Unite move is bad. It's so bad. It's like garbage tier Unite move. And I think part of it is comparing it to Urshifu's other Unite move. Maybe in reality, this is closer to C and this is closer to A, all right? This is my tier list. This is what I think about these moves. I don't think this move is good at all. It's so bad. It's fine. Well, it has been fine because Urshifu's been broken for the longest time. So it really was just about giving you like cooldown reduction, a max shield, and then like one thing where you could catch enemies and get some extra KOs. Because Urshifu was so busted for so long. Now that it's not as busted anymore, I don't know. This Unite's just bad. Okay. Dragapult. Dragapult. Interesting. I don't know. Dreep and Destroy. It's pretty good. But it's a weird one, right? Because it's not like a full Unite. You launch 2 Dreepies, and each deals damage to different enemies in the area of effect. If there's only one, that's not the case. The lower the remaining HP is, the more damage the Dreepy deal. If there is only one target, both Dreepies deal damage to that target. A maximum of 2 uses can be kept in reserve. It only has a 10-second cooldown, so you get to use it a lot. You can fire it once every 2 seconds. The additional damage on wild Pokemon's capped at 1200. Still a great secure tool. And it's 10% missing HP damage against enemies. This is how, against enemy Pokemon. This is like how you pick up lots of easy KOs with this Pokemon. You also have an internal cooldown with Energy Imp and Buddy Bear that don't really work. You just kind of can't use them. And then a max HP shield and move speed. It's weird because it's really good, but it's not a typical Unite move. I actually think it's A tier. But it's very specific, right? It's very specific to Dragapult, but it's really good. And the amount of KOs you pick up that you kind of shouldn't, and the amount of objective secures you pick up that you kind of shouldn't, it's pretty impressive. Dragapult's really good, even though it's not a stereotypical Unite move at all. Comfey, Flowery Fields Forever. You briefly become unstoppable. I don't know how you'd be stoppable. You're just hanging out on some ally. You create a large area of tall grass around itself. Pokemon in the tall grass can't be seen, just as with other tall grass on the map. If an ally Pokemon enters the tall grass, they continually heal every half second. Comfey gains special flowers from the tall grass. Flowers from this grass grant access to empowered floral healing and Sweet Kiss. You get a crazy big Sweet Kiss shield, by the way, using this, and increased infatuation, base duration. It's wild. This is just a wild move. It's not Blissy good, but as a supporter, it's very good. I have to put it A, but it's a perfect support move. It really is. It's perfect for a supporter. Yeah, just really, really good. Let's see. Who's next? Who's next on our list? I didn't see it on my tier list. Who's next? Oh, Zacian. Zacian's a weird one, huh? It's a weird one. What is this? Sovereign Sword, that's right. Has the user ready its giant sword, charge the sword with Eos energy, and then slash in front of itself. The user becomes unstoppable, applying a 10% self-slow while the Unite move button is held down and the user is in its ready stance. The longer you're in the stance, the more Eos energy is charged, and the more damage this move deals. If a set amount of Eos energy or more is charged in the sword, the move becomes boosted, and the slash's area of effect starts to increase. The boosted Unite move deals increased damage to opposing Pokemon it hits who have already been buffed by their own Unite move. So it's really cool in that when you're in big fights and enemies are uniting, you're actually KOing them easier with this move. In some ways, the amount of Eos energy it takes actually isn't that great. Sometimes you just want to spam this move really quick because you don't want to like waste the 30 Eos energy. That being said, there's no question this is a great Unite move. It's A tier. Zacian in general has been very, very good. It's not the best part of its kit, but it's a really powerful Unite move when you set it up correctly. It's definitely a strong one. Goodra. It's weird. Goodra's Unite is kind of like Snorlax's, just better, in my opinion. It doesn't have the knock-up, though. It causes rain to fall around the user, gradually restoring HP over 6 seconds. While this move is active, all the user's basic attacks become boosted, which is huge because your boosted attacks are like slowing enemies. They're helping you reset your moves. You get a 40% max HP shield and 50% move speed. I think Goodra's Unite's crazy good. I think it's really, really good. It's an A tier Unite for me, from the defenders. I really like it. Now, I don't think it makes it better than Trevenant necessarily, or better than Mamoswine, but I do think this Unite move is really solid. It's one of those things where when you use it, you're just like, we can't hurt that thing right now, and it's like kind of running us down. It's one of the best parts of Goodra's kit, I think. I really like it. Maybe I'm overvaluing it, but it also just feels like it lets Goodra do what Goodra needs to do, and I love that in a Unite move. I love a Unite that actually is set up to really, really amplify what the Pokemon does. Energy Amp, let's go. Lapras Express. Ride a wave quickly and continuously forward, becoming unstoppable for 15 seconds. Lapras's move speed increases every second while riding, but decreases if you hit an obstacle like a wall. If the move is used again, the user stops and launches a wave, so good, that continues moving forward, dealing damage to Pokemon it hits and throwing them for 1.5 seconds. This is like crazy good. If the user hits an enemy Pokemon while still riding, the user stops in place, dealing damage and throwing the Pokemon. Not as good, you only hit one target and you get a smaller shield. When the user is riding the wave, one nearby ally of the user's choice within range may be picked up for a ride on its back. So cool. Ally Pokemon riding on the user's back can dismount whenever they choose. You get a 20% HP shield on activation, but a 40% shield after you stop. The wave is really where it's at. Before this was nerfed, it was clearly S tier. Now I think it's A tier. But before it was nerfed, this was an S tier Unite move, for sure. They've kind of nerfed it to the point where it's like, all right, it doesn't charge as much. It's still really good though, and it's a really cool Unite move. I don't think it's S tier anymore. I'd say it's A. Chandelure. Shandy, Chandelure, you sweet little baby. Ignite Midnight. Reduce the vision of enemies around itself by 30% for 3 seconds. If this move is used again, Chandelure continuously fires a beam of fire in a designated direction, dealing damage to Pokemon it hits. The beam may be redirected while firing after its final blast, and its final blast deals increased damage. Ignite Midnight, say that 10 times fast, can be canceled early. Okay, this is fine. The fact that it can be canceled makes it kind of bad. The fact that it blinds enemies makes it kind of good. The damage it deals is good-ish, and is actually pretty good for ripping targets. All that together, I'm putting it B tier. I think the fact that it can be canceled, and it's so easily cancelable, is the reason that it sits B for me. That's what I would have to say. Umbreon is next. Umbreon's move is called something Prance. Moonlight Prance. Umbreon briefly becomes unstoppable, leaping up and absorbing the shields of enemy Pokemon in the area around Umbreon, taking them for the user. Umbreon then lands, dealing damage to Pokemon in an area of effect, stunning them for 1 second. For 5 seconds, enemy Pokemon in the area around Umbreon are slowed by 30%, and if an enemy has a shield, Umbreon absorbs 50% of that shield for themselves. Additionally, after learning this move, while not in combat, Umbreon continuously recovers 1% max HP, so it gives you like a leftovers. You can't take ray shields or assault vests. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you should be shocked here. This is one of the best unites in the game as well. Crazy good unite. S tier unite move out of Umbreon. Insanely good. Leafeon. Pretty good unite move out of Leafeon. Feels like a normal speedster unite, but its cooldown's nice. Emerald 2-step. You leap at the designated enemy, dealing damage to them and all enemies around them. Pokemon are slowed by 50% for 2 seconds. After the initial leap, Leafeon, called him Leafeon, leaps up and lands with force, dealing damage to enemies in an area. Enemies hit by this area take more damage the closer they are to the center. Leafeon is unstoppable during this move. It's a really solid speedster unite move. Feels like a maybe close to an A tier, but I'm going to give it a B+. Solid speedster unite. Really good. The low cooldown makes it really nice. I might even say it's A tier because of its cooldown. That might be fair, because you get it all the time. Yeah, maybe I'll say A. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Inteleon. Where you at, buddy? With your silly unite. Azure Spy Vision. For 10.5 seconds, Inteleon can see nearby enemy Pokemon that are in stealth or hiding in tall grass while active. Also doubles Inteleon's critical hit rate and gives 1 crit counter per second. This is nuts. This is broken. Inteleon's broken. This is a crazy good unite move. People who like talk about Inteleon's abilities, they're all well and good. It's unite move. You literally just walk around pressing A and you're like 2,000 damage, 2,000 damage, 2,000 damage, 2,000 damage. It's stupid. It's so stupid, Inteleon. All right. Okay, let's do Mewtwo X. Mewtwo X's unite. Infinite Psyburn. Mewtwo becomes unstoppable while revealing enemy players all over the map, channeling a powerful attack onto enemies' current positions. After 1 second, Mewtwo brings down a powerful psychic beam on their original position, dealing damage to enemies around the point of impact, leaving them unable to act for 1 second and decreasing their defense by 20%. Each Pokemon can only be hit by 1 psychic beam. Yeah. You know that this is stupid. This is S tier for sure. I don't think Wise is that different, but I think it just lowers special defense, right? Lowers special defense for 15%. They can only be hit by 1. Another crazy good unite move. It is S tier for sure. Mewtwo is very dumb, very, very dumb. This unite move is very, very dumb. It's so good. It does like 8 things. It's so good. Spinning Flame Kick from Blaziken, and of course Spinning Flame Fist. You just go between your 2 styles here. It's really cool. So this hits nearby enemies. You increase your move speed after using the move. You switch to punch style and your cooldowns are reset, which is pretty sweet. So you increase move speed when you go Flame Fist. You increase attack stat when you go Flame Kick for 4 seconds. Just really nice, and it's a really cool thing for Blaziken's kit. I can't put it really higher than A, because it's not like a Unite move in itself is broken. It's the Pokemon's entire kit. And it's really good. It's like Dragapult in some ways, but it's even more, it's like even hard to put it somewhere, honestly. It would be fair to not put this anywhere, I would say. Okay, Mimikyu's Unite move. Not a bad Unite move either from the Mimikyu. I think it has some drawbacks, but it's also really good, right? Play with me. Mimikyu leaps at an enemy, traps them inside of Mimikyu's rag, dealing damage over time, granting yourself a shield. The trapped enemy is only affected by this Unite move. Sometimes that's a bit of a double-edged sword because they would have been KO'd by other things. It's not like as good as Slow Beam or something. If Mimikyu loses their shield, or if 2.8 seconds passes, the user stops attacking and jumps in the designated direction. A maximum number of 7 hits, hitting every 0.4 seconds. The Unite buff occurs after the move ends. This ability counters Unstoppable. All in all, a really solid Unite move. I think it's probably like B+ tier for me. I think because you can actually sort of ruin some moments that otherwise you would have gotten KOs, I think it goes to B+, and you can't do much while it's happening. I could see an argument that it's closer to A, but I think this is fair. Meowscarada has got a pretty good Unite move as well. I think it could probably do more damage, or maybe even give you a big shield. But move, I almost said Meowth, instantly to a designated location, creating a whirlwind around Meowscarada for 3 seconds that continually deals damage to enemies every 0.25 seconds up to 13 times. You do get a lot of damage out of this. You will slowly walk forward in the storm. You can also like use eject button and change the direction. Oh, it says it right here. When using this move, the user cannot use other attacks or change direction without use of eject button. Thanks, Unite DB. And the move can be stopped if used again. Hits on enemy Pokemon reduce the cooldown of Night Slash and Flower Trick by 1 second per enemy hit. So just something to notice. You can use this and get cooldowns removed back. It's not broken, but it is pretty good. I think it's B+ tier. I think it's a solid Unite move, but it's not like crazy dummy good or something like that. Every once in a while you hit one though that's just like so perfect. All right, Compute and Crush. This used to be the worst Unite move in the game. It's way better now. It used to be so bad. You analyze the position of nearby enemies, granting a shield based on the number of enemies analyzed, and become unstoppable. When 2 or fewer enemies are analyzed, you lunge towards the target with lowest HP, leaving it unable to act, and you kind of like punch it a few times, right? The third hit deals damage based on the target's missing HP, so it's an execute move. If an enemy is knocked out by this move, you recover 30% of your Unite gauge. If there are 3 or more enemies analyzed, you lunge towards the enemy with the lowest HP, you deal damage to the nearby enemies, and you create a wall. That's that wall that you see, that little pit that you can fight in. If the wall is created, Compute and Crash may be used again to take down the wall. This used to be D. Now it's pretty good. I don't think it's broken, but it's either B or B+. It used to be canceled by everything. Like, they fixed it. It's so much better. Metagross is so much better. I think Metagross is like A tier Pokemon for sure. This is either B or B+. It's probably better than you think because we all remember how bad it was, but it's actually pretty solid. I think I'll leave it B. Maybe B+. I don't know. It's pretty good. It might be B+ actually. I don't know. That one's close. It's not the best thing in the world, but it's not the worst. And then finally, we have Gary. Where are you, Mr. Dose? Gyarados, Dragon Current, dive underwater, becoming untargetable and being unable to act. When used again after 4 seconds, you leap up into the air and attack. If Gyarados has been underwater for at least 1 second, a whirlpool will be created where it surfaces, dealing continuous damage and slowing enemies hit for 4 seconds. If you've been underwater for 2 seconds, you create a water spout. That's that huge, like, tornado looking thing up into the sky, throwing enemies for 0.96 seconds. Just make it a second. Alrighty, game. This is great. It's a great Unite. It's an A tier Unite move. Because it's a little hard to hit enemies at certain points, like it's a little slow and it's very, very telegraphed, I don't think it can be S tier, but I do think Gyarados' Unite move is extremely, extremely good. And now it's time for me to pick our God tier Pokemon right here. So I'm going to say goodbye to Unite DB for a minute here. Thank you for all the help, Unite DB. And we're going to look at our S tier. And I'm going to tell you what Pokemon are in contention. Slowbro, Blissey are in contention. Guardi's really good. Blastoise is good. Hoopa is without question in there. Umbreon without question. And the Mewtwo's. I think this is probably fair. Blissey maybe also in this category. I don't know. If I only had to pick one, which I get to do whatever I want, I can be Norse if I want, I would pick Hoopa. If I only had to pick one, I think it's the craziest Unite probably inside the game. At the same time, Mewtwo's Unite is the dumbest, most broken thing they've ever put inside the game. And we're all kind of forgetting it because we don't see it right now. Mewtwo's Unite move is crazy stupid. It steals wild Pokemon. It steals like buffs that the enemy's fighting. It gets KOs it never should. It stuns. It does crazy damage. It's stupid. It's stupid. Hoopa's Unite move is dumb in a cool way. This is dumb in a dumb way. That's what I'll have to say. So that's what I'm going to put into our God tier right here. No tier list mix up. I just want you to be able to see the tier list and enjoy it. Let me know what you agree with. Let me know what you disagree with. Maybe I got one really low that you think is great. Maybe a different Pokemon should be God tier. I could definitely see an argument for Blissey or Slowbro. Honestly, they're great. Honestly, and Teleon. There's so many good ones, but there you go. Every Unite move in the game ranked. I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I love you. I'll see y'all next time. We did it.